What do you think when you hear the name George Soros? Out of the conspiracy says yes, illuminates New World Orders, Rothschilds, even though he has absolutely nothing to do with that. His active life in the political scenes made him the target of the many conspirators. Soros is progressive and liberal. He deeply believes that ordinary people should be represents in the highest levels of government and fought victories for environment equality before the law. The guy is a self-made man, but being born in the Jersey family in Hungary in the mid of the 1930s makes him the perfect conspiracy theory. Regardless of what you think of him, he is one of the greatest minds in the world of finance. He rose from the as he to build a multi-billion dollar empire and did over $30 billion to various charity foundations over the course of his life. One of the best movies was when they fooled the Bank of England and made $1.2 billion overnight. Many might criticize him for his actions, but he took advantage of the opportunity that was in front of him, and his strategy was way more genius than many haste could possibly come up with. But to understand how one man fooled entire nations, we have to understand what led the Bank of England to make such horrible mistakes. Back in the days, the euro wasn't even a thing. It didn't exist. Creating the side currency from the multiple countries isn't easy, if not impossible. Since most of these countries are not economically equal, take Germany for example. It's a highly advanced country that has a strong manufacturing industry and it's dominate players for the world stage. On the other side, you have the Greece that highly depends on the tourism. Germany's GDP per capita is twice larger than the Greece. Once that one of the reasons why these countries haven't completely recovered from the 2008 financial crisis. So before the euro, European tried to connect its economics through a fixed exchange rate to earn the European exchange rate mechanisms. When the countries fluctuated too much, it makes it different to trade between the nations because that volatility creates uncertainty. Imagine exporting the ships full of the BMWs from the Germany to the United Kingdom. Let's say want Danish mark, which was the Germany's currency before the euro, equals to one British pound. And let's say hypothetically, the BMW car costs 1,000 Deutsche marks to manufacture Deutsche company ships BMWs to Britain and sell it for the 1,500 pounds, which is the average price of the such car in the Britain. But that's if the by time the BMW reach British soil. The exchange rate changes when the pound drops in the value by half when 1 mark equals 2 British pounds. How BMW can no longer sell the car for the 1,500 pounds because 1 pound is equals half marks. They have to sell it for at least 2,000 marks to break even the prevent that and assume investors that when they ship their products to their neighborhood's country, they can expect to exact same exchange rate because all currencies are fixed through Earn supports. There is the shortage of them British pound in the market. In that case, the Bank of England will supply the market with the British pound to buy the 7 more British pounds. In contrast, if there is the oversupply for the currency in the market, the Bank of England will buy them all to keep the exchange rate fixed. Simple, right? But not everything is sunshine and rainbows. Every country is different. If the country is experiencing high inflation, it might need to raise interest rates or vice versa. But when it has to artificially be handled against over currencies, that makes it difficult to can ruin up the entire economy. That's why Britain declined to join the ERM when it was created back in the 1979, but due to rising pro-European politicians, the UK ended up joining the ERM in October 1990s. But the problem was Britain was in the recessions. It was doing terribly economically, and joining the ERM meant that it had to adjust the interest rates and artificially keep the pounds enough to be part of the ERN euro. That means that the pound should not fluctuate by more than 6%, which was quite impossible for Britain if it wanted to get out of the recessions. In the 1989, the UK had inflation three times the rate of the Germany, higher interest rate 15 and much lower labor productivity than France, and Germany, which indicates that the UK was in the much worse economic situations in the comparison to other Euro countries. And that was Soros realized. He understood that sooner or later the British pound will have to devaluate, and the Bank of England won't be able to keep it strong artificially, which is why he began building the huge short portions to simply borrowed huge sums of the pounds from the various financial institutions, including the Bank of the sold them in the foreign exchange market for the German marks, so that when the British pounds devaluate, he will use the cash to buy the British pounds back at a lower price and returned them to the Bank of England. Britain raised interest rates to 10% of spent billions buying British pounds in the forex market to keep it strong. This means measure failed. To prevent the pound from the falling below its minimum level in the euro. At this point, many speculators lost faith in the British pound and began selling massively, including scores of exchange rate mechanisms. Requires to the Bank of the England to accept any offers to sell the pound. However, the Bank of the England only accepted orders during the day when the market opening in the London the next morning. The Bank of the England began there to defend their currency. They bought $1 billion worth of the pounds, but had zero effect. The British pound raised rates from the already high 10% to 12% to attempt speculators to buy the pound, but that didn't work out. In fact, only made the Bank of the England look like the desperate despite the government accumulations that they will raise interest rates to the 15th the liras. Keeps selling pounds, convinced that the government would not keep its promise by the end of the day. The Bank of the England purchased almost $30 billion worth of the pounds and announced the British would leave the euro and interest rates would remain at the new level of the 12. However, when the next day the interest rates were back to 10%. The British pound significantly was devalued against the other currencies, and as much as 25 against the US dollars, for example. And Soros profile over the $1 billion by the shorting $10 billion of the British pound. This shows that the man is the genius when it comes to the forex traders. If there is one person who can teach you how to really profit on the forex market, then it's George Soros. But if you want to learn how the forex market works, we have made the entire video explaining how it works, which we include the link in the description. But it wasn't all bad for Britain. Inflation was reduced to around 2%. And the economy started growing again. So everyone won in some ways at the end of the day. The euro systems eventually was turned into euro at the end of the century. After the such distractors experience, Britain probably would never give up control over its currency again. But the expense put George Soros on the map. Sword 7 is extremely dangerous, and you need the iron balls to put out something like that, and such huge volume. It's also the lesson that with every crisis comes the opportunity, and whoever is ready to take the opportunity can end up profiting enormously. And now it's your turn to do things. Source is a financial genius, or he is simply fool to the entire nation. Let's try to keep the comments sections free of conspiracy theories. Anyways, it's time to give this video the thumbs up if you have enjoyed it, smash the subscribe button and the bell beside it. Thanks for watching, and until next time.